Aswang. An aswang is a cryptid in Filipino folklore. The aswang is an inherently evil werewolf and vampire-like creature and is the subject of a wide variety of myths and stories. Spanish colonists noted that the aswang was the most feared of the mythical creatures of the Philippines, even in the 16th century. The myth of the aswang is well known throughout the Philippines, except in the Ilocos region, which is the only region that does not have an equivalent myth. It is especially popular in the western Visayan regions such as Capiz, Iloilo, Negros, Bohol, Masbate, Aklan, and Antique. Other regional names for the aswang include tik-tik, wak-wak and soc-soc, which is the noise it makes when chasing prey. Characteristics. Physical description. Various horrible descriptions have been given of the aswang's appearance, but some recurrent traits stand out among all the different descriptions. Usually, the aswang is a woman during the day. At night, however, it may appear as a bird, a pig, or a dog. No matter which animal form it takes, an aswang will differ from a regular animal in various disturbing ways. Most aswangs have long, proboscis-like tongues and are frequently described as walking with their feet backward. They have also been depicted as being so thin that they can hide behind bamboo posts. Etymology. Aswang or asawang is derived from the Sanskrit word asura, which means demon. Sometimes this creature is called the bal-bal or ghoul, mananailong and katanon, Quezon, which replaces the cadaver with banana trunks after consumption. Aswang stories and definitions vary greatly from region to region and person to person, and no particular set of characteristics can be ascribed to the term. However, the terms are mostly used interchangeably with manananggal and are also usually depicted as female. Usage. Aswang is a generic term applied to all types of witches, vampires, mananangals, shapeshifters, werebeasts. Aswang stories and definitions vary greatly from region to region and person to person, and no particular set of characteristics can be ascribed to the term. However, the terms are mostly used interchangeably with manananggal and are also usually depicted as female. Special abilities. The aswang's most fearsome ability is its knack for blending in with its victims. During the day, aswangs look and act just like regular people. Although they are generally shy and somewhat reclusive, they can have jobs, friends, and even families. During the night, aswangs shift into a form that is better suited to hunting. Different regional versions of the creature are said to take different forms. The tik-tik and wak-wak become large birds, while the zegben, sometimes described simply as a companion of the monster, takes on the form of a Tasmanian devil. Aswangs have also been reported to shift into pigs and dogs. In addition to shapeshifting, aswangs also have the ability to transform the appearance of other objects. It's common for an aswang to transform plant material into a doppelganger of one of its victims in order to hide the evidence of its feeding habits from locals. These doppelgangers might replace corpses, which aswangs often consume, or they might replace living people. If the doppelganger replaces a living person, it will return to the person's home, get sick, and quickly die. Another method used by aswangs to disguise themselves is through sinister vocal tricks. As the fearsome predator gets closer to its victim, its call gets quieter and quieter, so its victim is tricked into thinking the monster is actually getting further away. The aswang's hunting prowess is almost as frightening as its ability to hide in plain sight. Aswangs like to dine on corpses, fetuses, and small children. They often appear at funeral wakes or at the bedside of pregnant women to eat. The aswang uses its proboscis-like tongue to suck blood from its victims or suck a fetus from a pregnant woman's womb. They also have superhuman strength during the nighttime. A person transforms into this deadly predator by tying a fertilized chicken egg to his or her stomach. After some time, the chick passes from the egg into the stomach. Once this has happened, the remaining eggshell is buried in a bamboo tube along with coconut oil and chicken dung. The person now has the powers of an aswang. A dying aswang can also pass its powers along to someone else if it wishes. The aswang holds its mouth close to a chosen person, and the chick inside the monster's stomach hops into the mouth of the new person. Weaknesses. The first step towards ridding a town of this deadly assailant is identifying the monster. There are several ways in which you can do this. Aswangs generally have bloodshot eyes since they have been awake hunting all night. In addition, it is said that if you look directly into an Aswang's eyes, your reflection will appear upside down. The most common method of detecting Aswangs, however, involves using Albularios Oil, a special oil made of coconuts and holy plants. This oil is said to boil whenever an Aswang is near. Aswangs are repelled by garlic and religious artifacts and are at their weakest during the day when they are in human form. They can be killed by decapitation or by being struck with a whip made from a stingray's tail. Appearance and activities. The wide variety of descriptions in the Aswang stories make it difficult to settle upon a fixed definition of Aswang appearances or activities. However, several common themes that differentiate Aswangs from other mythological creatures do emerge. Aswangs are shapeshifters. Stories recount Aswangs living as regular townspeople. As regular townspeople, they are quiet, shy, and elusive. At night, they transform into creatures such as a cat, pig, bird, or most often, a dog. They enjoy eating unborn fetuses and small children, favoring livers and hearts. Some have long proboscises, which they use to suck the children out of their mother's wombs or their homes. Some are so thin that they can hide behind a bamboo post. They are fast and silent. Some also make noises, like the tik-tik. The name was derived from the sound it produces, which are louder the further away the Aswang is, to confuse its potential victim, and the babu, an aggressive kind of Aswang that makes the sound of a laying hen at midnight. They may also replace their live victims or stolen cadavers with doppelgangers made from tree trunks or other plant materials. This facsimile will return to the victim's home, only to become sick and die. An Aswang will also have bloodshot eyes, the result of staying up all night searching for houses where wakes are held to steal the bodies. Related creatures. The Aswang has a lot in common with Western vampires, but there is no evidence to show that either creature inspired the creation of the other. Stories of the Filipino monster and of vampires probably evolved separately. Other monsters in Philippine folklore are more likely to be related to the Aswang. Both the wak-wak version of the Aswang and the Mananangals, different monsters, leave behind half of their human torso when they transform into a predatory form during the night. Aswangs also have connections to witchcraft in the Philippines, and are generally described as women. They are also sometimes said to have magical powers during the day. While they are generally to be feared, they are sometimes said to provide healing potions or cast spells for local people. Cultural representation. Origin. The Aswang was born out of Philippine folklore, with stories of this terrifying creature dating back to at least the 16th century, when Spanish explorers created the first written record of the monster. The explorers noted that of all the monsters in their folklore, the Aswang was the most feared by native people. The creature's name comes from the Sanskrit word asura, which means demon. This terrifying monster is also sometimes called the tik-tik or the wak-wak. These names come from the sinister sounds the monster is said to make while hunting. Famous myths. Despite the fact that belief in this terrifying creature has spread throughout the Philippines, there aren't many well-known individual stories. Instead, the Aswang's fame is built on a collection of first-hand encounters, and almost everyone who claims to have seen this fabled creature has a slightly different report. Aswang mythology was formalized in the 1960s when Maximo Ramos included a description of the monster in a book titled Creatures of Philippine Lower Mythology. Visual arts. Drawings of the Aswang have populated Philippine folk art for centuries. Since its introduction to Western culture, the creature has also begun to make appearances in Western art. The Aswang Inquiry, an illustrated book by Gilda Cordero Fernando, contains many paintings of the Aswang. Stage plays have also brought the mythology surrounding this creature into the spotlight, with Luna, an Aswang romance, and tik-tik, the Aswang Chronicles, both showcasing the monster. Most recently, a documentary called The Aswang Phenomenon explored the evolution of the related mythology and the culture behind the myths. Kinds of Aswang. Manananggal, meaning the remover in Tagalog, a woman who is normal by day and by night detaches her torso, sprouts bat wings, and eats unborn fetuses. Tik-tik, sometimes known as wak-wak, giant humanoid crows who belong to witches, or magkukulam. To stop them, one must remove the crow that is inside of their stomachs. Bal-bal resembles a human in appearance and behavior. They are corpse thieves or grave robbers. It dwells in cemeteries and sometimes steals fresh corpses from funerals or tragic accidents like car crashes etc. Their weakness is salt. Bubu Aswang with bloodshot eyes that makes the sound of a laying hen at night. Mythical Explanations. As fantastic as the stories of the Aswang might seem, they may actually have been inspired by real-life events. One theory is that native wildlife was the inspiration for the legends. The tik-tik and wak-wak hunting calls the monster is said to make are probably the calls of nocturnal birds, bats, Tasmanian devils, and kagwang, an endangered species of flying lemur, have all been killed because they have been suspected of being Aswang in a transformed state. Another possible explanation of Aswang mythology is the presence of a rare genetic disease called XTP, which almost exclusively affects Filipino men. XTP causes patients to have Parkinsonian and dystonic symptoms. The patient is afflicted with uncontrollable muscle spasms, contortions, and tremors. Images of Aswangs during transformation are strikingly similar to photographs of a patient experiencing XTP symptoms. The highest concentration of XTP occurrences is in the Capiz region, which is rumored to be the original home of the Aswang. Finally, the Aswang legend may be used to explain away horrendous, unsolved crimes in the Philippines. When a person disappears or is brutally murdered, it may be easier for local people to attribute the crime to a demon rather than to one of their fellow humans. Tabloids often attribute crimes to the Aswang, which adds fuel to the mythology.